welcome to the first of our lectures. And for reasons that I can't figure out, the webcam is not working with my computer at the moment. So ordinarily I will try to have myself visible so you can see me gesture and you can hear me talk. But at the moment it's not working. So I'm going to be calling IT. So we are going to continue building the foundations here. We're going to be talking about geography and about culture and starting to break especially culture down into the various parts that we will be working with this semester. So let's get going here. I did want to just touch base very quickly and see if you have any questions about the class and the way that we are approaching it. You always can email me. My email is linked all over the place in the Canvas shell. So please, if you have any questions or concerns, always contact me. I would much rather that you pepper me with questions than you sit somewhere confused. All right, so here's our first question. What is geography? Well, we've already started to explore that, and you guys have been doing a very nice job in the discussions about what geography is and the difficulty of defining it. Let's try and pin it down a little bit more. But I'm really glad you're seeing the complexity of it. And as we have explored, like Inigo Montoya up here in the top picture, an awful lot of people don't have a good idea of what geography is. They think it's just place names when it's so much more than that. We have our own little rhyming couplet, and it is what is where and why is it there? The where and the why are two of the most important words in a geographer's arsenal. We want to know why something is the way it is and why it isn't over there and how it got to be this place, because we look at how things evolve to kind of make places. And we'll talk more about what a place is, but a place is more than just a location, more than just a dot on a map. A place is something that has taken on additional characteristics on top of just being a point on a map. A place has characteristics where you look at it and you go, aha, that is San Francisco or that is Tokyo. So place is a location given meaning. And that is what we look at as geographers. So a full definition, and again, depending on what kind of geography you ask, you will get different shades of this. But geography is the study of places. There's our fabulous word again. And the complex relationships between people and their environments, both natural and made. So both parts are involved. The things that people do, but also the environments we move through. And those environments can be natural, like the tall grass prairie or the redwoods, or they can be human-made, like a campus or your house or a huge city. So it covers a huge range. And these are the two branches of geography, using a nice little Venn diagram here. On one side, we have human geography, which looks at the characteristics and the distribution and the patterns of people, how they live, what they do, what they eat, all of those kinds of things. The other side is physical geography, and those are the natural environments, the landforms, the animals, the physical features, the mountains, all of those kinds of things, and the patterns that those create. Where are you going to find trees? Where is there a desert? That kind of thing. And then that middle ground where the two touch and where they overlap, those are the interactions of people with their environment. And when we talk about human environment interaction, we're really talking about the natural world for the most part. It's rare that when we're focused on human environment interaction that we really would talk about somebody in a house. We mean more, did you build the houses on a hillside? Or did you build it in an area that is likely to burn? Is there an earthquake risk? Right? Those kinds of things. So human environment interaction is really focused on natural environment, not human built environment. But where they overlap, that's the kind of the common ground between human geography and physical geography. Since this is a cultural geography class, we are going to be over on the left side of this Venn diagram. One branch, or sometimes it's considered another name, a synonym for human geography is cultural geography. Cultural geography is more properly a branch because human geography is also economic geography, political geography, and all of these other things. So cultural geography is a branch of human geography, and it focuses specifically on how places and landscapes and patterns reflect the culture of the people who live there. The values that they have, the things that they make, the food that they eat, the clothes that they wear, all of that. We also look at how culture can shape the landscape. Do people feel like the resources are there for them to use up? Or do people feel like the natural landscape needs to be preserved? Those are two very different cultural views, and they can deeply shape the landscape. So cultural geography does dabble in the physical side, but for the most part, we're going to be looking at humans. And remember, geography is literally everywhere. It's all over the place. It is in what you had for breakfast. It's in whether or not you have a high-speed internet connection or a slower internet connection where you are. It's in the fact that Emporia has an Aldi and a Walmart, but not a Trader Joe's or a Whole Foods. So geography is everywhere, and I hope you, over the course of the semester, will really come to enjoy how much geography can teach us and just how much geography explains the world around us. So with this class, we're going to be looking at population patterns. This is a map that is called a cartogram, so it's not quite a map you're probably used to. Instead of area determining the size of the country, the actual area, in this case, it's the size of the population. So look at Canada. Canada over here, Canada should stretch all the way. It's the second largest country in the world. It should stretch way far north, but it's quite small because they only have about 34 million people. So because its population is small, it looks small on this map. China and India, however, they're huge. They are the two most populous countries. So this is a special kind of map that shows relationships. In this case, relationships between population. So we'll talk about population and how people live. We'll talk about the kinds of jobs that they do and the way that reflects culture or the way that influences culture. We'll talk about religion and the ways that it shows up on the cultural landscape and the way that it influences patterns. And we'll talk about how religion also affects other patterns, other pieces of culture, like how do you dress, do you get a vaccine, those kinds of things. We will look at some indigenous cultures and inclusion and exclusion. This woman is Maori, she's from New Zealand, and she has recently gotten a traditional Maori tattoo that women would get as a piece of their identity. And this has been very much a piece of her reclaiming her links to her past and her people, and it is a visible piece of that. She's actually a newscaster in New Zealand, and so she's the first newscaster to have this traditional tattoo. So we'll look at issues of identity and how our cultures reflect identity. We'll look at patterns of language a bit. This is a map that shows the different words for beer all over Europe. I always think that, this word right here, I always have a little bit of trouble pronouncing it. Garagadoa. That is the Basque word for beer. And that right there, that shows you that, you can see words that look an awful lot like beer. You can see cerveza. Over here, we have the Slavic words for beer, and you can see that being widespread. This one, you can just tell that Basque is not a part of those other languages. It's a remnant of a much older language. So geography helps us see patterns. Sometimes we also have language show up in different ways, reflect different aspects of culture. Here we have language being inclusive. During President Biden's inauguration, this woman signed the anthem. And so that made people who can't hear the song much more visible on the cultural landscape. And that was a really important landmark decision to have that signing be so present. So we will talk about the way that different groups show up on the landscape and the way that our cultures reflect that. All right, I'm going to pause here so that this video doesn't get too long, and we'll pick up and define culture.